G'day guys, this is Rob Woodman from ACF Environmental and you're watching The Lid Bit. The two items that we keep talking about on The Lid Bit are the importance of collaboration in green infrastructure and low impact development pursuits, and then secondly, the need for the voice of maintenance to have a seat at the table when it comes to making decisions regarding the implementation of green infrastructure in a variety of the programs we see out there. And speaking of collaboration, I was encouraged to see on this month's episode or edition of Stormwater Magazine, the word collaboration right along the face of this. And it says right here, working together to reduce erosion and improve surface water quality pays off. Sounds like they're onto something. Episode 5 is going to have 2 parts. And the focus of this episode is on a couple of products or solutions that are out there that provide pre-treatment for green infrastructure BMPs, specifically curb line green infrastructure BMPs in an urban environment. In this first part of this 2-part series, we're going to be talking with Scott Gorneau from Convergent Water Technologies and ACF Environmental regarding a unit called the PreTx that was unveiled a couple of years ago to help with this challenge of effectively pre-treating and protecting green infrastructure BMPs along the curb line.
Today we have a special guest on the show, and this is Scott Gorneau, who is with ACF Environmental and the Convergent Water Technologies Network. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning, Rob.
Today we're focusing on pretreatment, and I wanted to bring listeners up to speed on the unit that you work with called the PreTx. And so I've got a series of questions I want to ask you, and hoping you can fill in our audience and our listeners about what this PreTx device is and what it does. So the first question I have for you is, when was this product created?
Great question, Rob. The product was launched about 2 years ago, and since then we've installed systems throughout New England and as far away as California, believe it or not.
And who developed it? Who created this product?
Yeah, the product was developed in partnership between Convergent Water Technologies and Dr. Rob Rosine, formerly of the UNH Stormwater Center and now in private practice.
Okay, great. Now, let's talk about applications. Where do you typically see this kind of system used?
Yeah, these systems are primarily used in LID and GI applications, that's low impact development and green infrastructure, where you're trying to manage runoff and pollutant loadings from highly impervious areas such as roadways, residential drives, parking lots, and you don't have a lot of room for traditional forebays, aprons, tip downs, and curb cuts. It offers a solution to designers who are trying to prevent erosion in these areas, trying to move water from edge of pavement to the GI practice with a minimal amount of elevation drop, and simplify maintenance, as well as deliver an aesthetic look to the client.
Great, and it certainly does. I'm showing some pictures during this movie too, and you certainly get a variety of examples of how the system is set into these curb lines. So Scott, tell me, what are the different configurations that are available for the PreTx system?
Yeah, there's 2 standard configurations, a drop and a curb inlet model. Both are traffic rated and made from precast box sizes that measure roughly 4 feet by 4 feet, that's width by length on the inside, and 5 feet by 5 feet on the outside. Both boxes are typically 4 to 6 feet in overall height. They both have the same internal components, consisting of a baffle wall, a weir wall, and a screen outlet. The curb model is mainly used for taking sheet and or gutter flow off your pavement surface and dropping it out the back opening into a GI or lid practice. The drop inlet model accepts subsurface piping, say from a roof downspout, and also takes in sheet or gutter flow through the graded inlet. From there, an outlet pipe can take water to your GI lid practice, whether that's a bioretention or subsurface infiltration trench.
Great. So for engineers or landscape architects or designers working with the system, how is it generally sized, and is it scalable for larger watersheds?
That's a great and important question. Each model has a flow capacity rating that factors in how full the unit is with pollutants and is sized to meet or exceed the flow from the design rainfall event, such as a 10 or 25 year rainfall occurrence event, falling on that contributing area. In a climate like New England, a single curb or drop inlet model can handle up to about an acre of impervious area. If it's more, we would recommend using 2 units instead of just making one big PreTx system. In fact, we find this fits in very nicely with most GI lid design manuals that require designers and engineers to limit the drainage areas to their GI lid practice to less than 1 acre.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So let's talk about cold climates. It's often a lot of concern around any system in sort of the northern climates we have in the U.S. How is the system kind of rated, or how does it function in the cold climate?
Great question again. The PreTx was developed with cold climate function in mind, from the cast iron frame and cover to the precast concrete body to the HDP internal baffle and weir wall and the stainless steel screen. These materials are made to resist freeze-thaw, de-icing, salts, etc. We've observed the performance of these systems that have been installed for over 2 years now on roadways and parking lots in New Hampshire, where winter plowing, sanding, de-icing is occurring, and we find that they're all doing very well. They're not breaking down. They're holding up very nicely.
Okay, great. So let's shift over to the contractor side of things. When we're talking about installation, what does that look like?
Installation is fairly straightforward from a contractor's perspective or point of view. It would be like installing a standard drain inlet or storm drain manhole, where you're just excavating a hole to the proper elevation, laying a level compacted base, setting the unit and backfilling around it with a specified backfill. From there, curbing, paving, finish grading would all take place, and these systems can be typically picked up with normal equipment such as an excavator and set in the hole. In many cases, when we deliver them to the job site, we come with a boom truck so that it can be offloaded and set by the delivery driver.
Great. And then probably the most sort of talked about thing on LidBit is this whole idea of maintenance. So let's talk about maintenance with the PreTx. How is a system like this typically maintained?
Yeah, that's very important, and it's very accessible. We require no human access. There's no confined space entry. It's accessible from grade by removing either the solid manhole cover in the curb model or an inlet grate in the case of the drop model. From there, you would have clear access down in between the baffles. You can bring out your pressurized hose or spray wand and spray everything down to clean it, and then you would bring in a Vactor hose or a vacuum type device to remove the liquids and the solids. Outside the unit, one would just simply clean up the accumulated piles of sediment, trash, and debris, either with a rake, shovel, or by hand.
Okay, great. Well, I think that pretty much covers it, Scott. It's been a pleasure having you on LidBit today, and I wish you all the best with your pursuits in this crazy space of low impact development and green infrastructure.
Thank you so much, Rob. It's been a pleasure being part of LidBit. Have a great day.
Well, that was certainly an informative session with Scott. And if you're looking to connect with Scott for more information on the PreTx, I'm going to post his email down below at the bottom of the screen here, so feel free to connect with him. And hopefully you found this session of LidBit interesting and helpful and useful to you as you look at better protecting your curb line green infrastructure.